Opal's Cat, episode 003 from Outdoor Life's The Ultimate Survival Manual, Extreme Edition. This one should rattle everybody's cages. Da-da-da! The Bob, the bug out bag. There is probably nothing more controversial in prepping than bugging out. It used to be huge arguments about whether even bugging out was sensible or smart for most people, and frankly it probably isn't. But everybody should have a bug out bag. It's a commandment of prepping. Of course, I have followed the traditional prepping route, and I fully agreed with that. And now I don't fully agree with that at all. What you need is some cash, what you need is to get yourself out of debt, what you need is to have a nice pantry full of food that'll last you for 3 weeks or even 6 weeks, and you need to have some water, and you need to be able to filter water, blah 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 blah. Before you get a bag, a backpack, and head in your car or on a bike or an ATV or probably an SHTF on foot out of the house. The fact is, the extreme version tends to agree with this by starting off with number 001, which is a stay-at-home kit. And then, hello, Bob. So, do you have a bug out bag? Most of us who've been prepping for a while have multiple bug out bags. We have get home bags, we have inch bags if we're insane, a whole bunch of different types of bag. But what they're going to do here is frankly quite amazing. They are calling this the to-go bug out bag. So is this an inch, I am never coming home bag? Is this an extended stay in the wilderness bag? Is this a bag to get you from your home to a bug out location? What exactly is the point of this? Well, let's have a little look. If you have to grab one bag and run because the world is caving in, that bag had better contain what you need for short-term survival. And since most of us evacuate in our cars, it's a good idea to keep this bag in your trunk along with crucial road items. Yeah, because we all know in sudden SHTS that affect an entire community, hopping in your car and driving on clear roads to get out of Dodge is really easy, and of course there'll be lots of gasoline available at the petrol stations and the gasoline stations to help you on your way. That is a fundamental mistake. Do not rely on a vehicle. If you have a vehicle, use the vehicle, but rely on the fact it may not make it. So make sure you've got some bicycles in your vehicle for everybody in your group. The kit list is fairly straightforward. Energy bars, trail mix, and a couple of separately packaged ready-to-eat meals. Well, that's pretty good, isn't it? What you're looking at here is, if you're lucky, 1400 to 1500 calories. Massively inadequate, even for a short-term bug out bag. Very, very inadequate. Several bottles of water, a filter, and water purification tablets. Look, you've got a bag, you've got a backpack. Use a hydration bag, 3 litre. Have tablets in reserve, have a decent water filter. But know where the water is along your route. That's kind of key. Remember, you're leaving your home in a hurry and you're rushing off to somewhere. Even if you're not rushing off to somewhere specific, which would be a fatal error for a prepper, you are rushing off to a certain geographical location. Now it may vary depending on various events, but have you actually got decent paper maps, don't rely on cell phones, to actually guide your journey so you can find water sources to use this stuff? Because 2 bottles of water is a litre and a half water. That's less than a day's worth. Okay, this really bothers me. Fire striker and basic lighter plus tinder cubes. Oh, come on. It's a bug out. Have 2 or 3 Bics. Throw some matches in if you want. Put a small fire steel in if you really have to. But the Bic's a good thing. And having some fire tin is a good thing as well. But I would strongly advise you not to light any fires whatsoever in an SHTF bug out. Unless you need to, because it's so cold you'll die. Again, by making it short and snappy, they're making errors. 1 entire change of clothing, such as pants, shirt, socks, underwear, gloves, hat, windbreaker, and poncho. Depends on the season. In the winter, in the deep winter in Canada where I am, I need 3 pairs of gloves, and I use 3 pairs of gloves. So again, it's going to have to be based upon the time of year in geography. But even worse, it's irrelevant to the time of year and your geography. Please, if you're going to bug out, take more than 1 pair of socks, and I would advise more than 1 pair of underwear. Seriously? If you don't look after your feet and your crotch, you're going to get into serious trouble on a bug out. Okay, flashlight and extra batteries. Yeah, I guess get a really cheap flashlight. Maybe have 2 small ones. You don't need an arc light. The more fancy, expensive the lights are, the more susceptible they might be to an EMP. Consider getting a solar cranked flashlight. You shouldn't be using lots and lots of light in a situation of an SHTF bug out because you're kind of really advertising where you are. Continuing with useless information, knife and spork and a military grade can opener. I'll let you have the military grade can opener, P45 I would suggest, because you're cutting the weight down. But that implies you're carrying tin food, or you're going to find tin food along the route. I would suggest getting a lightweight but reliable mechanical can opener. I would absolutely never ever use a spork. Yeah, I bought them in the past. They're absolute garbage. I'll show you what you should have. So rather than a titanium spork, which will probably cost you $100, get something like this. You can get these all over the spot. It's called cutlery. Cutlery is one thing we'll never run out of in SHTF. This is a designed one for me. I have 2 sets of chopsticks. Useful for stirring, useful for a whole bunch of things. Good things to have. Emergency tent pegs if you need them. What else is in my little kit? Oh look! Not a huge knife, but a knife. It's got little serrations on it. Makes it a lot easier to cut things up and then eat them. Now, in terms of eating them, rather than mess around with a spork, why don't you just have a fork? Also, you can use this for various other things by attaching wood to it. You can't do much with a spork. And look, a spoon, a decent spoon. You will love having a decent spoon on any sort of a bug out because, to be honest with you, make a lot more sense than a plastic spork. Heavy cord, wire and snares. I say no. The bug out should be from the home or the office or wherever you are to a place of known and expected safety and sanctuary. If necessary, hide food and supplies in old suitcases you get from the thrift store at relatives. Lots of things you can do rather than have to carry stuff. If you're bugging out because your home is so unsafe you cannot possibly stay there a moment longer, why do you think magically it's okay to fish? It's okay to set snares and hang out for them to catch stuff? I'm not sure. It's one of those mythological prepper things that people believe themselves to be expert fisher people and expert hunters. And they think that they can bug out and spend the time and calories hunting and fishing and trapping. Maybe you can. I still say, what are you doing? You couldn't stay at home any longer because it's really unsafe. 5 miles, 10 miles, 15 miles, 25 miles away from that home, it's perfectly fine to go on a little hunting trip. I'm not sure. I'd ditch them and I'd add in more food. A battery operated radio, absolutely. Try and have it with shortwave. Try and get the weather station on it, or at least a government channel. I would at this point consider actually not taking a shortwave radio as such and take a Baofeng. Whether or not you have your license or not, in this sort of situation as a receiver, I would definitely consider a Baofeng might well be worth taking, especially if there's other members of the group and especially if you might get split up. What we have are these, and you can hear how it works, right? Very basic, line of sight. We've tested them out. They'll go about 1/4 to half a mile. You don't want your party splitting up much beyond that. Lightweight, cheap, use regular batteries. No confusion, easy to use. Make sure people know which channel to use. Don't just use channel 1 because it comes up first. In fact, what we do is we use a different channel depending if it's in the morning or afternoon, evening or night time. We also have Baofengs, and I'd show you them, but they're all in a Faraday cage because, let's face it, one of the most likely events that's going to cause you to bug out is possible war. Trying to do all things for all people, they suggest you take a solar or a hand cranked cell phone battery charger or a battery bank, and a battery bank's a good idea, but I would ditch that and I would use a solar flashlight that's also got a hand crank on it as well. I think a flashlight that doesn't require batteries and that can passively hang on your back and recharge that way is probably what you need. If the internet's up, if cell phone towers are up, a cell phone's a great idea. Remember that to use text rather than phoning or email. And the other thing with those is as well, is that if it truly is you're leaving home for the last time because it's become unstable and unsafe, I'm not really sure whether your current cell phone package is going to be valid in the refugee camp. Again, it's heavyweight, technologically dependent. Use paper maps, use your own brain. I'm not altogether sure that in grid down and dashing from your home like it's the last time you'll ever be there and being dependent on a cell phone or encouraging people to be dependent on cell phones is a necessarily smart move. Depends. If it's a local wildfire, of course you want to take a cell phone or cell phone charger. But it's a lot of weight if you can't drive. First aid kit, manual. Again, read the manual, get some training, know what you're doing before you need to use it. And make sure that the first aid kit is specific to what your activity you're about to do. Make sure you've got at least 2, hopefully 4 ACE bandages, tensor bandages, so you can deal with sprains and you can deal with bleeding by putting a forward pressure bandage on it. Because, you know, the one Israeli bandage might not last long enough. And now we get into the sublime. The sanitation and hygiene items, such as toilet paper, soap, and a small towel. I think a micro towel, 2 micro towels is an essential piece of kit because you can use it to filter water, pre-filter water before you treat the water. A small towel to dry yourself off because you've had to have a bath or a shower after a hard day's fishing and trapping during a bug out. Again, kinda nuts. Be quite easy to find towel material in any sort of semi-civilized area, I would think. I routinely carry a couple of small packs of Kleenex with me when I go out hiking, and I use it pretty much exclusively for one purpose. I pretty much exclusively use it as a fire tinder. What I use for my toilet, my poo-poo, is I use a wet rag, one of those wet cloths. Much easier, much faster, and much cleaner in wild conditions than squatting down, having a poop, and then trying to get a tiny piece of Kleenex to do its job. It's not the same as sitting on the toilet. If you haven't pooped in the wild, and I don't include outhouses here, but if you never actually pooped in a forest with nothing there when you walk into it, go out this weekend and have a go at it. I've done it quite a few times. I used to be a trail runner for long distance, and it actually is a skill you need to practice. And maybe I'll do a video on it one day. Special need items, spare glasses, spare sunglasses I would say, any medications you need, yeah, it all goes without saying. But what they don't mention is the originals and photocopies of all your important documents. Your mortgages, your bank cards, your credit cards, immigration papers, passports. All of that stuff, you want to have the originals with you in a Ziploc, double Ziploc bag at the bottom of your bug out bag, but you also want to have photocopies of those in double Ziploc bags on your person in case you lose your bag. Unless society is completely gone and will never come back, in which case who cares. Signal mirror and whistle. Yeah, sure. Have you ever used a signal mirror in the wilds to contact other members of your party when you can't hear them? It's a skill. It's also dependent on sunlight, though you can use a flashlight for that, but to be honest with you, just using the flashlight works well. But why aren't you using this sort of a thing? And don't get that separated from people. If you want to attract an aircraft's attention, it's not really a bug out, is it? Or is it? I don't think it is. Because of the insane dependency on the automobile, they then suggest you, in your bug out bag, in your home, in case you have to flee your home, put this in your bug out bag. Tyre safety items such as a spare tyre, a tyre iron, jumper cables, a windshield scraper and hazard flares, plus any needed winter items, a small collapsible shovel, tyre chains and a bag of kitty litter. Now, I'm fairly sure they mean that to be kept in the car and not in the bug out bag, but you know what, the section is gear up with a to-go bag. But what's missing there? Food and a tent. Now I live in the frozen wilds of Canada, and this is my winter bug out bag. As you'll notice, it's May, so it's been taken apart, completely empty. It's a huge bag. The bag itself is heavy. I need it. Why do I need it? I need it for the sleeping bag. I need it for the sleeping bag liner. I need it for the tent. I'm going to be in real trouble in January in Canada without a tent. And I'll tell you something else. If you're going to all your trouble to put this bag and your stuff in your car, hope your car doesn't get stolen or destroyed. And the other thing is put a tent in there. This is a lightweight camping tent. The one I would actually use for bug out is actually folded away because it's actually in the summer kit. It's about this big, and you'll see it on my kayaking videos in July and August. It's my little hubba bubba. Cost me about $400 Canadian, worth every penny. Mosquitoes don't get in it. It goes up fast, it comes down quick. Speed is an important part of a bug out. Being able to eat, drink, clean, poop and sleep is a very, very important thing. There's one piece of kit hardly anybody ever mentions or shows, which is critical to a bug out bag. This is obviously not the one for the Canadian Army bag I have, the winter one. A good quality covering that is waterproof for your bug out bag, because they get heavy when they're wet and the stuff in them gets wrecked, and you don't want to get hypothermia, and water will kill you. Get some of these, get one for each bag, make sure of that. I hardly ever see people with these online showing their bug out bags, and each time I think, have these people ever actually hiked for days and nights in bad weather? Or do they just go in the bottom of the garden when it's sunny and pretend? In fairness, I think they're using 001, the stay-at-home bag, in combination with the 003 bag. But even so, I think they're giving people the wrong advice. They're not telling people to have somewhere to go. Number 003, certainly before you talk about having a bug out bag, the priority is to have places to go that you can reasonably get to if the car doesn't work, and that you'll get food and shelter and be looked after. If you haven't got any friends or family, this is probably the time that you want to start prepping to have friends and family that love you enough to feed you if you've got nothing else and show it with a ratty backpack. So you'll find all sorts of people online, and all sorts of companies are happy to give you good advice about getting a bug out bag and what to put in that bug out bag. And one of the interesting things of the modern era is people are now buying pre-made bug out bags, which in themselves is better than nothing. But sometimes nothing might be better than something if you're relying on the something and it doesn't work. It's got to be personal to you and the family and the co-workers even that you're going to bug out with. You've got to know where you're going to go. How are you going to get there? It's all too easy to say, I'm going to drive. Honestly, I doubt it. So next time, it's going to be packing to survive in the wild. And honestly, that's even more amusing than the bug out bag one. So you have to stay tuned for that. But whatever you do, take advice from people like me, from books like this, from internet, from YouTube. Take it with a pinch of salt. I have a bunch of photographs coming up, some nice free royalty-free music, because YouTube keeps slamming me as soon as I try and use one of my old clips. And I do recommend Creek Stewart's book. I don't think it's the be-all and end-all, but if you want a book to tell you how to bug out and what to put in a bug out bag, Creek Stewart's book is not half bad. Anyway, whole bunch of slides coming up. Enjoy them. Whatever you do, be safe out there. Remember, you are the extreme version of survival. You are the ultimate. In SHTF, tomorrow will always be worse than today, unless you plan, unless you prep, unless you practice. So let's start doing it. Doodles!